Welcome guys and welcome to this video. In this video we are going to create this Disney app. So we have here the navigation, some effects is going on there. We are using the Firebase for the authentication, so you can log in using Google for the login, and we'll see that. We also have the movies showing with the categories. So here if I click, and it is all coming from the database using the Redux, so we will be seeing that how that works and everything shows up. This website is completely responsive, so here you can see the mobile view all is working as it should be, and here we have everything as it's supposed to be. So we will be building this using React and Redux as well as Firebase, and we will see that how this clone of Disney we can create. So let's get started. First thing first, I want to set the Firebase. So from the Firebase side, we will be done. So we will be able to start our application. So if I go to the Firebase website here, you can search for Google Firebase and you will come to this firebase.google.com. Here you need to create a login with your Google account. So I'm gonna do that now. Alright, so I'm logged in here. Now what we need to do, we need to go into the, we need to create a project. So first of all, so here we say me create an app, get started, and then it brings you to this page. Here I have a few projects going on, so I have it here, and here you can see the add project. You need to click there and you need to give it a name, so any name you prefer. So let's say we are working with this Disney project, so it's a Disney dash clone. All right, and hit continue. Analytics, if you want, I will leave it as it is. Hit continue. Select an account. So I will say create project. It is going to create the project and all the settings and give us the dashboard. So we need to wait till it completes. It hardly takes 2-3 minutes, so we need to let it do its job. Alright, so the project is created and you can see that success message here. I hit continue. Now now we need to go and see what exactly we need to do here. So here on the left side we have the project dashboard options. If you see here in this cog wheel, if I click here, we have project settings. I click there. Now here you can check all the details about your project. Now if you hit build, here you can see the authentication. So when we need to work with the Google login, we will start here. And for the database, we will use Firebase database. So here, when I click this, and here we can create a database. So I hit create database, and there you can define it's going to be default location. You can set which location you want. I leave it as it is, and I hit next. Now here is the permissions to set. We will use this test mode for now, so I'm gonna hit it and enable. Alright, so here is the collection. So you can create a collection here. You can give it any name, so we say movies for example, and then next, and then you can put any kind of data. So here you can put like name, or you want to call it title, then the type, and then the value. So let's call this Tarzan. So this is just to show you like how you can do that. And here it's auto generated, so it's generated now. You can save it. You're going to save here, and you can see that we have one movie within ID, and then this. Now you want more field, you can add here. So for example, title, then if I want year, which year it came, it's going to be string, and just give it a random year, let's say 2005. So I add it as well, so you can see that it attached to it. Now you can add more, just like that, auto generate another movie. it's going to be, let's say, Batman, and then save it. Now you can see we have another movie, and if you need another field, you can add year. Let's call it 2022. All right. So you can see that this way you can add the data. Now I'm not going to add all the data here because I will be using the different project, but this is how you need to configure. And once you have all the movies data here, you can use it. Now for the authentication part, once we are there, I will show you that. But for now, we have this here, and what we need to do, we need to go into project settings here to connect your project, the app you create, to your React application. You need to enable it. So here you have your apps. There is no app in your project. So here we need to work with web. So here when you create it, you can give it web Disney clone, whatever name you want to give it, and register this app. So this is going to give you the credentials that you need, and those credentials we will be using in the React application. So we are just setting things up here. See, you can see now this is the package we need to install. We have some API keys, domain, all that stuff. So when I'll be using these keys will be different because I will be using it from the separate project because I already have all the movies inserted there. So in your case, you can use the credentials from your project when you create like this, and you can copy the details from there. All right, so this is the part for the movies in the Firebase. Once we will be on authentication side, I will show you again. Now let's get started with the app itself. So we need to create the app. So we go into Google, and you can simply search for React create app. So it's gonna give you the this page. Just go there, and there you should get the command. So here is the command. Now to make it run, make sure you have Node.js, nodejs.org. So you should have Node installed in your computer. If not, install it and download the recommended version. And once it is installed, you can get started. Okay, so when we come to the Firebase website, it shows us the Go to console. When I go here, that we created this Disney clone, you will be using that. So I already have Disney created previously. So if I go inside this one, so here, the only reason I'm going to use this because I already have data entered. Store database, not real time. So when I go there, so here is the collection, and you can see that I have a few movies entered here. So each has image, label, type, value. So what you can do, you can create your own database in your app. Totally up to you how you want to do it. I'm just storing the path of the image. I will provide you the images so you can use them. You can simply add it the same way I added here. So I don't want to waste time adding each of these again to the new project. That's why I'm going to use this one. You can add the similar way. You can even add more values, more fields if you want in your project. That's totally up to you. So just to let you know that I will be using this one. And nothing different. It's exactly the same, only the API keys and some stuff are going to be and the configuration will be different, nothing more. All right, so we were at here creating the project. So I created this folder, Disney app, clone app. So I'm gonna open this with the text editor, and we will be using the Visual Studio. You can download the Visual Studio, it's totally free to use, and then we can start working on it. So in the Visual Studio, we go to here, basically you need to open the terminal. So you need to go in the three dots, terminal, new window, you come here. We are currently in the clone app directory. If I say ls here, and you can see there is nothing inside this folder, so it's an empty directory. So here we can run the command to create the project. So here we have npx create react application. I go back here, paste the command, but I need to put here dot instead of my app because I want to use the same folder, clone app, as a project folder. So I hit here return. It's gonna install and create the application for us. So you can see that package.json is already there. So we need to wait till it completes. Okay, so it is complete now. So to start our project, we need to run npm start. So I'm gonna copy this and just gonna run this, and it will, and we have our application up and running. So now, first of all, I need to clean it a bit because we don't want this logo or this text. We want our code to be there. So here in the code, if you see here, we have node modules where all the packages gonna go, and already there are some packages, so we are not gonna touch this folder. Public folder, there are going to be our resources like images we will be putting here. Source is going to be where we're gonna put our code and everything. So here we need to change some things. So first thing, the main point where your application starts in React is when you go to public and index.html, your application is rendering here. So here you have the div with the ID of root. Everything is going to be rendered here. So this is an important file. If you want to change the ID to something else, you will have to update here. Now let me show you where this is mounting. So here I close this and go to the source. Here when I go to index.js, here we are telling that get the element by ID, which is root, and here we are saying okay, we are going to work there and render everything there. Okay, to get started with our application, we need to remove all the unnecessary things for now. So first of all, this web vitals, we need to remove it. I am going to remove it from here as well. Index.css, no, we don't need it. And then we are calling app here, which is totally fine. We will be using it. And I'm gonna save this. Now here we have app test, we don't need it. And logo, we are not looking for logo. And setup test also, we can remove that. Okay, so we have git for the git if you want to push your code to the git repository. So for now I'm gonna remove it, we don't want it. So in our folder now we have only the index.js, index.css I'm also going to remove. So we have 3 files now, index.js, then app.js that we are calling here. If I go inside app.js, we are calling the logo, which I already deleted. So I remove it. App.css is getting called here. I will maintain it there because we will be using it. Here we have div, and this div we can actually put here something to say hello to see that application is working. In the terminal, if you're not seeing any error, then it's all working as expected. So if I go back here, you can see that we have home. Now home is in center because in app.css there must be some CSS. So here you can see there is some CSS going on here. I select all and delete it, save it. Now I can see your hello is on the left side, so no CSS is there at all. So we are at the scratch. Now we need to create few directories. So I go here in the source folder, I create 3 folders. First going to be the, I'm going to call it components. Alright, so we will create our components, and components going to go here. Second one is going to be the Redux, because we are going to use Redux in this application. And for Redux, we need a store folder. So we create another folder, which is called store. Now we're not going to touch any of these Redux and store folder now. Inside components, we need to create 2 folders. One is going to be pages. So whatever pages we create, those go inside here. And if we are creating some component which is going to be included inside a page, it's not itself a page, we need to put it in a separate component, or separate folder. So what I call it widgets. Alright, so we can put inside there. Now first of all, now we have here index.js. So we are calling app here. what I'm even gonna remove the app as well. We don't need app as well, so close it, and we can delete the app as well as the app CSS. So you can see that we are left with only single file here. Now currently we are getting an error here, so we need to fix this. So what we need to do here is we need to say we need to go to web first, and here we say here React router. All right, so we need to React router down, go here. When you come to this page, there is create browser router, go there. Now you will see something like this here. So what do we need to do? We need to have a router provider, which takes the router, and we need to use it. Okay, so what we want to do, I'm gonna copy this line first, and I will show you how it all works. So here we have the React strict mode. I move it. I put this like this right here. All right. So when we have the Redux configuration that we will be adding here, for now we just gonna have this. I haven't included the router provider, so I will include that, but before that I'm gonna set the constant which we are passing, which is router. So I copy this here, I say constant router, and what this constant is going to be, it is going to be, if you go to the website, there is a constant router. So they create a browser router, then they say, okay, if this is the path, use a component and load that component for that path. So something like that we are gonna do here. I'm gonna copy this portion and go back to the code editor, and actually I'm gonna paste it here. All right, then we're gonna close it, and then like this. Okay, now we don't want that root, we want a home component. We don't have this, so let's create it. Inside pages here, we need to create a home. So it's gonna be home.jsx. Now here I say React functional component, and it's gonna be home. Now you need to go into extensions, search for React, and you will see the extension with this extension here. You need to install it, and yeah, this is the one. And what exactly it does, you might need to restart the Visual Studio. So this, when you type the React functional component, gives you these options. When you hit it, it generates the boilerplate. So here we got home component, right? Now close it, we have home here. Now here we need to import the home so that we can use it. So here we can say import home from, and then look for the directory components, and then it's page, right? So it's gonna be pages and then home. From there we are including it here. Now what we need to do else here is that we need to bring the create browser router and router provider. So go back to the documentation. Here we are calling these like this. So copy this, go back to the code editor, and paste it here. All right, save it. Now we are getting these alignments here. What we need to do, we need to cut these imports and make sure when the create root is here, so all imports should be on top of it. So here, put it right here. So now it should be all fine. Okay. Now I save this, and we still have a error in our here, so we need to sort it out what exactly is happening. So the thing is, it says count resolve React router down. We haven't installed the package itself, so we need to go here and we need to install the command for React router down. You can even get from the GitHub. So if I go back to the Google, they have it here, and there's the command. Go back here, go to the terminal, and in terminal paste this command and run it. Now go back here in our, we have here, like let's go back and refresh. Let's restart the server, Control C, yes, it stops it, and npm start again. And here refresh, and you can see that everything is fine now. Now you will notice here that we have home showing up here, and home is coming from, let's go here. So we have home here, and we are saying that when we go to the default URL, which is the main URL, home is the component which is going to be loaded. So we have home, and inside home we have this home. So if I say 1, 2, 3 here, so it comes from here. You can see there. Okay, so far so good. Now we have here our home. So let's start with the, if I go back to app with the top portion, this navigation. So in our application, I need to create another component, and this time it goes inside widgets. I'm going to call it navigation. Navigation.jsx. All right, as we are going to include it inside a page, I'm calling it a widget. And here React functional component, and we can save it. And then here inside we can import navigation, and here we're gonna copy this and I'm gonna put here like this, because we're gonna call multiple components, so we are passing it this way. Now everything stays the same. We have now navigation because the navigation is loading, so we need to work with navigation. Now we need to see how styled component works in React. So there a package we need to install. So we go back to the web browser and search for React style. The first package you see here, we go in it. And here is how it works. So basically you say constant, and then you say whatever you want to do. So we are saying here a button, and then basically you put div here. They are using anchor tag as an example, and then you have backticks. So in backticks in between you can put the styles. So that's how it all works. What do we need to do? We need to install this. So installation, and here is the npm install style components. This is what we're going to use. Copy the command. We get back to our code editor here. Second window, I put the command and run it. So we will be using the styled components to style our components. Now this is done. So what we need to do, inside navigation I go, and here currently we just have navigation text. So I want to use the style component. And to use the style component, if you see here, so we need to do import, and then we can start. So let's do that. So we go back here, navigation. Currently it just shows the text. And what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna remove this, and I'm gonna create a custom element here. I say main, and I call it nav. All right, so you can call it anything. It's totally up to you. Inside it, I say navigation as a text. Now, currently React is saying like where it is. We haven't created it, so let's create it. So here on top we import the styled, and then we say styled dot. Basically, when you're using styled components, now it is going to be type div, so it's going to be div, and then backticks, as I said before, and here you put your CSS. Now we need to put it inside a constant, and that constant is going to be the main nav. So you put it like this. Alright, so now you have a style component. Now you can style it as you like. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put here some style. Display going to be flex, and justify content. This I want to have space between. Alright, and then height, because it's a navigation, we want to set some height. Let's give it 100 pixels for now. Then I want a background image. So we have a background gradient here, this. And for this background gradient, I have a gradient color that you can use, and that I'm going to put right now there. so we need to put it like this. Alright, so you can see that Visual Studio Code even showing us it's a linear gradient, and then you to right from left to right, and then the color will be these colors. Alright, then what do we want? Well, other than this, we need some padding, and that padding going to be 0 for top bottom, and then 30 pixel for left right. And if you want to target any child of if anything inside it, let's do this. Let's add a logo. So here I say image, and currently we don't have image, but I say it's going to be Disney logo. And here we can pass class name as logo. Alright, we will add the image, but I just want to target this image for now. So here what I say image. Now when we are doing it, or what I can do, I can say simply, as we already gave it the class as well, so logo, and what we want is width to be 120 pixel. Okay, now you can see that it's taking effect already. Now we have top and side padding, so we can remove that. So if I go to index.js, we don't include anything here. So what we can do, we can go into our main home component, and here I can put basically a wrapper. So what do? We create a wrapper here, and I kind of call it constant. And this, we can even set the width based on this wrapper. So here, main wrapper. Alright, it is also going to be styled. So styled.div backticks. And we don't have style here, so you can import style just like that. So import the styled on top. Now inside it, what do we want to do? We want to say padding 0 and margin 0. Alright, now this main wrapper, it should wrap everything, so all the application. So we're gonna have everything inside this main wrapper as the home component, so I just put it here. Now if I see here, it's not taking effect. Now this is going to work any component inside it, so padding and margin going to be 0 by default, and then you can set. But for now, right now, we have here this padding coming on the body element. So if you go here, click on body, you will see that there is some margin and padding. So what we need to do, we go to if you remember initially I told you that we have public. Now there are two approaches. Either you can create a CSS and include here. So let's do that. What do we do? So the second approach is basically you can go and in index.html you can put here the padding for the body, but that is not a non-reactive way to doing it. So let's do it from index.js because that's the main file we're dealing with. So here I'm gonna create a file next to index.js, index.css, and here I'm gonna say we need to import it. So import, and just simply import the file. Now file is here. Now we go here and we say body padding 0, margin 0, and now you can see that it took effect. Now we don't have any spaces. Alright, I crossed this off. Now this is fine. If any universal style we need to put, we can put here. Now let's go back to navigation and continue with it. So far we have the main navigation, main nav. Nav has few images that we need to put in public directory. So I say reveal in Explorer, and here I paste the folder. Now this is not public. We need to cut it, put it inside public. Okay, so now it's there. Close it. So we have images, and there is logo. So we can call it straight away so that we can see our logo. So as it's inside images, we need to say /images/logo.svg. All right, so you can see our logo is right now there. Okay, now what do we need to do? We need to create the navigation links. So far we need to have these links, so we don't have them. So let's add. So go back here, and I'm gonna make it bigger a bit. And here, just below image, we're gonna say another custom element. I'm gonna call it nav wrapper. Okay, and nav wrapper like this. And inside it, we can create anchor tags. And in anchor tags, we can have our stuff. So I'm gonna add image. So it's gonna be logo image basically. So source, and it's gonna be again all images are in images folder. Then we have home dash icon dash png. Actually it's svg. All right, and then we have alt. That can be goes to anything, like based on what you want. Okay, now for now we have header for anchor tag because this image tag is not closing. We need to close it. Then we have wrapper, so we need to have a constant for it, which is going to be styled .div, and here this should resolve the header. Now here what we need to do, I'm going to put here a span, and this span is going to have the name home. Okay, now I'm going to add the links just like this. So I'm going to copy this, paste here. The second link is going to be search. I'm going to do it behind the scenes so that it won't take much time in the video. So alright, I added links behind the scenes. So now we have home, search, watch list, movie. Now it's not appearing. We need to put some styling in the wrapper, which is going to be responsible for everything. So here, what I'm going to do, I'm going to add that. So I'm going to say display flex to start with. Then I want to have a line items to center. Alright, then I want height. We need to give height so that the line items can center the things, all the elements. So height 100%, and then justify content, and that's going to be flex in. Alright, now we have the anchor tags inside this nav wrap, so we can put here anchor, and then we can give it some styling. So I give it display to flex to anchor tag as well. I say align items center, and then padding. I'm gonna go 0 to top and bottom, left and right. There should be some gap, so 12 pixel. Now there is an image. If we go here inside an anchor tag, we have image and then span. So we need to style them accordingly. So here image. Here I'm going to say height, and this is going to be 20 pixel, and then min width, and I'm going to give it 20 pixel as well. Also, I'm going to set the width to 20 pixel. Alright, now this is images done. We need to target span as well, because we need to have an effect as well, so that when we hover over it, it goes this way. So we need to set accordingly. So currently the span, we haven't set anything, so we need to give it a color first of all, as it's not displaying, and color is white. Font size is going to be let's give 50 pixel, 15, and then letter spacing and spelling should be correct, 1.5 rem, actually 1.5 pixel. And then we want padding. I give 2 pixel, and 0 pixel. Okay, then we want to have an before element here. So before, and what we want to do, we want to set the background color. Before doing this, I'm going to save it and I'm going to see that. Okay, now these are showing up all here. Okay, you can see the color is white. Now we need to make their sizes and everything adjusted and centered, so we will do that. Also, what I'm gonna do, I want to put here, basically, if I go back to the code here, we want to have a sign out. So we can see here div with the class of sign. Alright, so that's going to be the one we will style later on. Okay, let's continue with the same style this. So here we need to work with the before element here, and here I'm gonna set background color, and that's going to be white. After that, what I want is border radius and 4 pixel. I think it's enough, not 44. Then bottom. So we need to move it to the bottom, so we give bottom -5 pixel, but it won't take any effect if we don't have position set. So we say position, and we need to set its absolute. Alright, then it's going to take effect. Now here, content is going to be empty. Now this is not exactly, this is before that element, so that's why the content is empty. Of the content, height. Of the content, we need height, and that's going to be 2 pixel. So that's the bottom line. Left, 0 pixel. Opacity. Initially, I want to set it to 0. Later on, we will be setting it to 1. Then we have right, 0 pixel, and then transform. Origin. From where it should start. It should start from left. And left, center. And then you can say transform. And how should it work? Scale. It should scale. So we say scale X, and then you pass 1 to the X horizontal. Then transition, 0.2 seconds. So this is the time it will take. Okay, so far so good. Now let's go and make some changes when we hover over it. So we say here end, and you can simply say hover. Now you need to set the stats for it as well. Cursor going to be pointer, so it will look like a hand when it goes to that anchor tag. Then span, and again we need to set before, and here we're gonna say transform, and then scale X 1, and this time we want opacity to be 1 as well. Okay. Alright, I made a mistake here. It should be semicolon, and the same goes to here. Now once we do that, we have our links here. Now if I go to hover, you notice that nothing is happening. So if we see here, I'll open the span, we have a before, which is the background is white, so our styling is there. So in the span, we need to give it a position of relative. And other than that, I'm not seeing anything that I'm missing, so it should be fine. Let's see. Still not working. Now there is a mistake that in span, when we have before and hover, right? Now the hover part is going to be outside of it, so we need to cut it. So from here, like this, and then paste here. Now it should be fine. Initially scale should be 0 and later 1. So yeah, now it's working. Okay, now let's work with the sign out. So there is a sign in, sign out button that we need to add. We don't have it right now, so let's go here. And here at the bottom, I created the div for sign out, so we need to finalize it. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to again create a sign in out component, not a basically the style component, and inside it we say sign in for now. All right, I copy this and we go here. So I close the nav wrapper, main nav, and here we can create a constant, and it's going to be styled dot div, and then the style. So the sign in, sign out styles, I already have them. I'm just gonna copy it. So it's good. It's just a button. So I'm just gonna paste it here. So it's nothing fancy. We have font family set, and then the bit of a color here, font size, line height, background is black. So if you see here, it's just like that. I don't have anything on hover currently, so I'm just setting it to the default like that. All right, so now let's add the header. So basically the hero section, this image and these buttons and these options, this should go now and it should come here. So for this, I'm going to create another component, and we will get back to the sign in later on when we will be working with Firebase. So I'm gonna leave it for now, and let's go here. Now we're going to create another widget because it's going to be included here inside home. So I'm gonna call it you can call it anything, header or hero section, totally up to you. I'm gonna call it header.jsx. React functional component, and we have the boilerplate here. Now inside it we need to create, I'm gonna create a custom styled component here. Inside it we want to have an image, and that image is going to be the logo image, this one, and let's add that image. So slash images slash logo dot svg, and we will style it later on. That's totally different. So here it's going to be this a plus, and we can say class name, and we can give it a class of logo, so we can style it later on. All right. Now here, what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna say h3, and inside it I'm gonna say get it all. All right, and then we want to have sign up options. So it's again going to be a style component. So I'm gonna get sign up options. You can call it anything. I'm just gonna call it sign up options. So basically we go back here, we have the get it all image on top, then we have the sign up and save up to these buttons, and this is the part. All right, so now what we want to do, we want to add some content here. I have some content ready, so I'm going to copy and paste to save time. I paste it here. Let's see what it is. So basically it is div with the class of grid item, both and class. Here we have p tag, which is including the price, $30.99. Then we have month, and the same way we have start streaming and cancel at any time in the same way we have here. All right, this is just plain HTML, simple, basic, nothing fancy here. Currently, if I go back to our site, it's gonna give nothing, because we need to put these style components in place to make it work. So, and we have an important style as well, so let's do that. So I go to home here. I'm gonna copy this style and paste here. Okay, the first we need to work with the header constant. So constant header, which is going to be styled.div, and then here we define the style. So let's put the styling here. Display going to be flex, and I'm typing a bit wrong sometimes. Sorry for the mistakes. So here justify content, then it's going to be start because we want it left side. Then what I want is the flex direction. Now flex direction by default is row, so you need to set it to column, so it counts one top off of the other. Then we have padding. I'm gonna give massive padding here, top and bottom, 200 pixel and 50 pixel left and right. So, all right. Then we have color. Let's give it white. Anything there is should be white, so we can see it. Background image. Alright, so we need a hero image. So to set it, we say URL, and then inside it, we need to set inside it, and we have images, and there is a header.jpeg. Okay. Now this is going to make so far so good. And what do we want to do next? Okay, now we want to set the background image to cover. Actually, it is background size, not image. It's going to be cover. Now let's see what is happening. So if I go here, so far it is not doing anything. The reason is quite simple. If I go to index, it goes home. Then we have here, we haven't included the header. So import header, and I'm gonna put header just below navigation. Save it. Now we get the sign up option, obviously that we don't have that style component ready, so it's giving the header for it. Alright, so let's put it. So here I say constant style sign up options equals style dot div, and you can have anything, div or h3 or anchor tags. So it's just like that. What are you really looking for? So here we need div, so I'm passing div here. So this fixes the header. So now you can see things are there. Style is not properly working, but our content is there. So let's improve it further. First, I will continue on header. So here we have the class to logo. So I want to set its style size. So what we want to do, we want to say width to set to 200 pixel, so that it won't take whole width. We get that effect. And other than that, we need to set the h3 title. Now what we want to do here is font family, and that's going to be linear sans serif. And also font size going to be 44 pixel. Alright, now after this, what we want is the header. If we go here, let's save it, go back here. So if we see here as compare, so we have an image here, we need to add this image as well, and in here we don't have that. So go back to here, and after the get it all, I'm going to put another image. It's going to be /images/ original.png, and the rest of the stuff is quite same. I'm gonna copy from the top image, just like that. Only the class going to be logo header instead of logo. Now we can target this class, so we can say logo header, and we can give some styling to it. So I say height going to be 35 pixel, and width, because it's a long image, I give it approximately 630 pixel. So we have image. All right. So go back here, inspect this one. We have. We can even pick styles from this one. So this font is not taking effect in my case here. If you see, I'm not sure if the spellings are wrong or what. And here it is, family, font family. That should be fine now. All right, now work with the buttons. So we have here 2 buttons, and the content showing left to right. It's not on top of each other like here. So that portion is basically sign up options. So we need to set our styling here. So let's do that. Here I'm going to say display to flex. Then I want to pass justify content. And this I want to have everything in center. And then flex, because currently it is in column way, so we want it to be in row way. Okay. Now I have a class given to this. So here is a medium and then primary. This is basically for the styling of the button. And again, I need to get the styling for the button I already have saved. So I'm going to put it here. So I'm going to say here, medium. So that button styling is nothing very attractive. It's just the color of the button, background, width of the button, height. Nothing fancy. It's just the way it is. Also, I'm going to add here hover, so that inside it, so when you want to set hover inside this medium class, you can put hover here. So here, and hover, and we can set here background to white and color to whatever is the color currently. To what I'm going to do, I'm going to change it, reverse it basically. So it's going to be background color in no. All right, now let's see in our browser. So our buttons are looking fine, but the content is in the middle now. Let's correct that. So we have our medium class working fine. After this, I want to put some style based on the class which is wrapping in this all. So the grid item class. So let's do that. So here I say grid item. I'm going to call it display inline block. Then I want to say margin top 40 pixel. Margin actually max width 360 pixel. Alright, now this what we want is it's going to be the grid item, and this time only for the first child, the first button. So we need to give some styling to only the first. So it's going to be margin right, so that we have spacing between 2 buttons, 25 pixel. Alright, now here, if we go back here, let's see how it looks. So far it's not going right. Okay, so there's spelling mistake here. I'm gonna correct that, as well as I'm gonna give this display from a block, and then if we go back here, and it looks fine now. All right, so far so good. Now our hover is also working. Now I'm gonna add the style for H3P. So we also have, so if you notice, I added the class H6 here and H5 here, and small is also added as a class. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to define the CSS for this. I'm going to paste it here. So we have for class HT, margin bottom 28, font size 16. For all of this text, I'm using this font family so that it looks better. And I'm also using font weight on H5. So if I save this, it will make it look a lot better. You can see here. All right, now it's time to work on the section where we show the images and programs category wise. So let's work on that. So here in React app, but I'm gonna create another component. So here we go in the files, and I'm gonna close the header as well as the index.js, and we need to call another widget because it's gonna be called here. So I'm gonna call it. It's not a separate page; it's a portion of a page. So we can let's call it movies. Movies JSX, and then React functional component. Movies. Now let's import it first, and here import movies, and we can call it just below the header. So here it goes, and it should be showing up there already. So we have movies showing up there. Now the movies we are fetching from Firebase, obviously we need to work with Firebase here, as well as we need to use Redux. So in this project we will be using it. So what do we do here? I go here and search for Redux Toolkit. This is the latest, so getting started, and we need to go to the installation. How they say we need to install it. So we have npm install Redux Toolkit. So copy this command, go back here, and run it. So I run this command. This one is complete. We need to also install npm install React and Redux. So install that too. Alright, now our app is working just fine so far. We just added 2 new packages. Now we need to set up this in our main app. So index.js, let's go there. Here, I make it bigger so you can see it easily. We need to set basically a provider which is going to wrap our application, and it is going to give the access to our application. So let me show you how it all works. So here, first of all, we go to the so we have router provider. I'm gonna wrap this with provider, and at the end here, this will have access to store. All right, and if you remember, initially we created a folder named store. So I'll show you how we will use it now. So now we have store like this. Okay, now it is wrapping our application. So whenever pages we go to, that is happening inside here, and the provider is on top of it, so we can access the data. Now we don't have provider imported, so let's import it. So if we say import provider, and then we need to from, and we need to import it from React Redux. Okay, now the other thing we need to work with now is the store. We also need to import it. So what do? We go back here, we have the store folder. Here I'm going to create a file, but before that I'm going to import it. So here I say import, and here I'm going to say import store, I'm gonna say from store. Okay, so now we have it. Now let's work with our store. So we need to create a file with, I'm gonna call it, as it's the directory name store, we can call the file index.js. So let's do that, index.js. And inside it, we need to export a constant named store, which we are including here, because we are saying it is getting exported from somewhere, import here. So here we say export constant, and that's going to be store. All right, it is equal to going to be configure store, and then configure store takes the configuration options. Now basically it is going to take reducers. Now don't get intimidated by the syntax. Once you will see it working, you will understand. So let's say you're working with users or you're working with movies. You will call each reducer inside this object, and as this you are exporting it from here and importing it here, and then provider is wrapping your whole application, you will have access to all the movies and all the users, whatever data you are passing here in the reducer. So here, what we want to do first, we want to complete our setup. So what we want to do here, we want to import, and if you guessed it right, it's the configure store, because if we're using it, we need to first call it. So this is going to be imported from React. Actually, it's Redux Toolkit. Okay, and then we can call here and use the reducers. Currently, we don't have any reducers, so we can't use. If I go back to our app, it says .star. So the store folder should have the index file which has the store in it, so that we can call inside it. And so when I close it, and this index.js should be outside. Now if I go to a page, I get this error that provider is not exported as default. So actually we need to call it like this because it is exported as default. So now we have store, we have provider, we have index.js, the main app here outside. In the store, if you create with the same name, be careful. The store file is the one which have this configuration with the reducer. So be careful about that. So I made a mistake, I corrected it, I moved the file outside, so I moved it back. Okay, now we have it, so we can create the slice. So basically in here, we need to color reducer. So currently we want to show the programs and movies like here we did. So we want to do that category base. So to do this, we need to create a movie reducer, and we call it movie slice when we create it. So how you do it, you go in Redux directory, and here you will say movie slice like this, and it's going to be a JS file. Alright, now in movie slice it's also going to be configured. So first we need to import create slice. If I get the option here, slice now. So this is going to be from Redux Toolkit. Okay, so this is which is going to allow us to create a slice. So we say here export constant, and we create a slice. So it's going to be movie slice, and this is going to be used to process the movie data. And we're going to use the create slice here, and then we're going to pass some configuration inside it. All right. So first thing we're going to pass is the name, which is going to be movie slice, and the spelling should be correct. Then the second thing we want to pass is the initial state. what is the values inside there initially. Third is going to be reducers. All right, these are basically the functions you are going to use. So here I'm going to define a single function. Before defining that function, I want to set an initial state. So that initial state is what? So here we're gonna say constant initial state is equal to, and we want to pass here new category, and then the value to it, which is going to be null. Then I want to pass it iconic category. Again, value is null by default, and then they're going to be critically acclaimed, and this is going to be null as well. So this is the initial state. So these are the initial, you can say, variables with no values. It's by default null. So we will create a function here which is going to be get the values and set these values. So let's do that. So let's call it set movies, right, function, or you can call it anything as you like. This function receives state and action. All right, and how it works basically, it says state dot the values we define here, the keys of it. So here we're gonna say new category is going to be equal to whatever we pass. It's going to have a payload. So action.payload dot new category. So we will be passing data with that key. The same way I'm going to do it for others. So I'm just gonna copy this and paste it like this. Now it's going to be, second one is iconic category. Paste here, paste here. Third one is critically acclaimed. Paste here and paste here. All right. So when I call this function and pass the value, it should have a value with this key, and it's going to assign it here, and we will be able to access it everywhere in our application. So this is how it works. All right. Now here it's gonna be semicolon, not comma, and here it's gonna be it's comma. Now at the end, what do we want to do? We want to export it, because whenever you're importing something somewhere, you have to export it from somewhere else. So we want to export, because we want to use the movie slice as a reducer. So we say here export default, and then movie slice dot reducer. Okay, now here we also want to export the functions that we want to use. So we say export constant set movie function, right? This is the function we created, and we say here movie slice dot actions. So using this, now we can call this function from anywhere, because we are using the provider, which is wrapping our whole application here. All right, now provider will provide the access to store. So the reducer, this movie reducer, needs to be here so that we can access it. So let's add here. So you can give it a name as well. So what I'm going to call here is that movie, and then you call movie slice like this, or you can call it movies. Totally up to you how you want to do it. So now it will work as expected. Okay, now we need to get the movies first, so that we need to make a call which is going to get the movies from this API. All right, so let's do that. So first of all, I need to create another file, and that's going to be the Firebase file. So we need to put, so inside source directory, create a file named Firebase.js. Now I go to Firebase. Now, if you remember, if I go back to Firebase, we created this Disney clone previously, right? And if you create it along with me, you just need to do that the same way. Go in your app, and then in your app, basically, when you go inside the Firestore database, there you will see the data. You need to put the entries here to fetch the data. And when you want to get it, so you go to project settings, there you need to enable it. If you remember, initially in the video we did it, and you get a configuration, and that you need to use. So it takes some time. Be careful about that. So when I come here in the project settings, it took some time, and then it loaded it. So here all the configuration that we need to use. So basically you need to copy this code and you need to put it inside the code editor, so like this. Now I'm going to change this because I'm going to use the old application which I created because there is data. I don't want to put data inside there because in your case you will have to, so be careful about that. So here this data is present in different project, so I'm gonna use this one instead. Everything is the same, so just want to tell you about that. So go here, project setting, and you can see it takes time to load. It takes some time to bring it. So just this portion is separate in each app, so whatever app you're using, it totally depends on that. Here I go back, here I paste it. Now that's different. Okay, now let's see what we have here. I'm going to remove this portion and this text as well. So we have initialize app at top. Then we have the analytics. We can remove analytics at this point. I don't want to use analytics. And I'm going to... Okay, so here, what I want to do, I want to import a few functions, and the first one is the get, and it's a Firestore. Okay, so it's a store from. It's going to be Firebase slash Firestore. Okay, next I want to import is the import auth. Now this, actually I'm gonna bring it here. So this is the old configuration. You need to use this using the Firebase documentation. If you go to here, you need to search the integration of it, how it works. Basically these, I'm going to give you the whole file, how all the required configuration, so you don't need to do any research on it. So it is going to be time saver for you. Now we have all these on top. We have the configuration for my app, so we can here work with it. First thing, we are initializing the app, so you can see here. I'm removing the comment for now, and here the app is initialized. So here what we want to do, we need constant for DB database. And when you want to access it, so we say get Firestore, and you pause your app. All right, this is we also gonna use the auth, so authenticating user. So get auth, and again you're gonna pass your app in it, just like that. So this is what we want to do. Constant. We need to use a provider. This provider is for the authentication, so we call here new Google Auth Provider. I'll show you how it works, but just I'm gonna call them here all at once so you can have full configuration. Export, and here we want to say auth, comma, provider, comma, and DB. All right. Now, if you remember, it says here this is the configuration, but there is a command given as well. So make sure you run this command, otherwise you're gonna get the error. So here I'm going to do that. I'll go in terminal. Now put command here and run it. Alright guys, so Firebase is installed and app is running fine here. In case you face any issue installing Firebase, do this: delete the node module folder, and you might need to run it npm install -- force or npm also npm firebase -- force. So in case you face issue, try this. Now what we're going to do now, that if we go to our project, currently I'm just showing the movies text, and here we have 3 categories that we need to show, and on click the content should load accordingly. So here what we're going to do is we need to work on those categories. So let's do that. So we know that we have 3 categories, right? So we can straight away work on that, and after that we will load the content for each category. So here I cross all these, and I'm gonna cross this as well, home as well. Only the movies going to be here. And here what I'm gonna do, I want to create those 3 categories. So I say I'm gonna create a custom accordion title. Alright, this is going to be style component. Not sure about spelling, so I'm just gonna use these. So here I'm gonna create an anchor tag, and this anchor tag is going to have on click we will be doing something. So here, as we have the effect of hover, so I'm gonna put a span inside that as well, and the span is going to be for first, it's going to be new, and here I'm gonna say on click, and here I want to run something on click. What exactly I want to run is a function, and that's going to be load content type. Okay, and when we run this load content type, we pass it as a new. You're getting each type of button. When we click, we will be passing a string as a new, or the type of that particular anchor tag. So here, let's say I copy this, I paste it again. Second time, it's going to be iconic, the second category we have, and then we need to put here iconic. And the third time, paste here, it's critically acclaimed. Yeah, critically acclaimed. Alright, and here we say critically acclaimed. Spelling should be correct. Okay, now we need to have the styled component, so let's create this one here. Constant is equal to styled and .div. Okay, and we need to style it a bit. So I'm gonna say here display flex, then width going to be 100%. Also I want to pause here, justify content, which is going to be center, as all the elements are in the center. And then we need to have the background black. Also height going to be for this portion only 100 pixel, and then align item is going to be center. Alright, now other than this we need anchor tag, because we have anchor tag inside it. So we say here display flex, and then align items center, padding 0 to all pixel. And then at last we need to work on the image. So inside anchor tag we have the image. So it's going to be height 20 pixel, min width 20 pixel, and then width 20 pixel. After this we have span, so that we have hover effect on it. So here color white, font size, that's going to be 25 pixel. Then we have letter spacing, which is going to be 1.5 pixel, similar to the navigation how we did there. And then we're gonna have padding for top and bottom 2 pixel, and then 0. And then we need position, relative. Alright, spelling needs to be correct. Now here, what we are left with is the font family, because this one has a font family to apply to, and it's having their sans serif. I'm finding hard doing the spellings for it. Now here I say end before, and that needs to be background color. It's going to be white when we are hovering on it. No, this is going to be white all the time. We just want to set the opacity to 0. So here it's going to be border radius 0, and bottom -5 pixel. Actually it's going to be 4 pixel. Up to bottom we need to have content empty, and then we need height. I want to pass height like 2 pixel, and after that we have left, which is 0 pixel. Now initially it is going to be hidden, so it's going to be opacity 0, and then position to bottom to take effect absolute, and we also need right 0 pixel. Now we need the effect of that animation, so we transform, and here origin going to be from the left side, so it's going to be left, center, and then transform and scale. It's a scale X, and here spelling. Initially it's going to be 0, and then it's going to be transform, and actually it's a transition, transition. So we want to have some time effect here, 0.2 second, so that it will. Now here outside of it we say end hover. Now on hover we will say cursor point. Alright, and then we have span before, and basically transform and scale X going to be 1 this time, previously it was 0, and here opacity will be 1, previously it was 0. Okay, so so far so good. Let's see, let's go back here, and we have style is defined. Okay, we don't have it imported the style, so here let's import styled from styled components. So here I have it in pages, style from style component, what the other errors are. We have load content type, so we don't have this function created. So let's go and work on it. So go back here, I close this, and I say here constant load content type equals, this is arrow function, okay, and we need to set the content type. So basically I'm gonna create a state here as well, so it's gonna be constant, let's call it content type to load, and then set content type to load. Alright, use state we need to use as we are dealing with state. So set content type needs to be here, and whatever type we get from here, we are setting it straight away inside it, like that. Okay, use state we need to import it, so pause it here like that. Content type, now what do we want to do? We want to, so this is for the anchor tag it is giving. We can ignore this yellow line, but what we really want to do is, if I go to the page, okay, we have it here, some CSS is not working, so let's fix that. So I go back to text editor, and there. Alright, so the CSS is fine. I required a hard refresh, now it's working just fine. For hard refresh, press Ctrl Shift and R or F5. Now it's fine here. Now if we go here, we see here everything is capital, and that's something we can change in HTML basically. So here it's new iconic. Alright, so now on click of each button, we need to load the content below. So for that, I'm going to create a separate component. And here, let's create it. So we go to here, and I'm going to call this component accordion content. So here, you're going to call it accordion and content. Alright, now we don't have it, let's create it. So here, .jsx. Now we need to pass a prop here. So basically, each time when we're changing the content type, we need to pass it. So here, the state that we are setting, how we can pass it, basically we can say this is a state, we need to pass it. Alright, now in here, in this component, we need to use it. So here I say React functional component. Inside the function here, we use it like this. And if I copy this, and we can even see that how it works. So we can put it here. Now here, accordion needs to be import. So let's import it. So import accordion content. Now it should be fine. And here, yeah. Now let's see. So if I go here, if I on iconic, yeah, it's iconic. And you can see that here the text is changing. So when I click on it, it's loading the exact which component we need. So now let's go back here, and here we need to work on the content type and load the content accordingly. So what I want to do now, I want to first fetch the content from Firebase. So for that, what we need is we need to and here I see use effect. Basically, use effect will fire the function for us, and that function will get us the data from the Firebase. And here use effect. Alright, now here inside use effect. So let's write a function. Here it's gonna be async and function, let's call it fetch data. Alright, this fetch data will get the data. So I'm gonna put it in a try statement and try catch statement. Alright, header console.log, or I say error, and basically we pass error. Inside here we need to work with the, so here we say constant, I call it collection, and what this collection is going to do, it's going to get the data. So here equals collection, we need to pass db, which we created initially, so we will be importing it, and as well as the object name. So we have movies stored in our Firebase, so we want to get access to it. So here on top, first of all, if I go back here, Firebase.js, we are exporting db, right? So we can import it. So here we can import it. Import, and that's going to be db from where? From that Firebase file. So Firebase, like that. So now we have access to it. Now we are not calling this function right now because we need to call it below. So like so. Now it will run. Now the collection is a Firebase method. If you notice here. So we need to import it as well. So import, and here you will say collection from, and this is a Firebase, so Firebase /fire store. Alright, from there we need to import this one. Alright, so we have the data fire, everything seems okay to me. We have collection. Now we need to get data out of this collection. To extract the data out of collection, you say constant, and then you say query snapshot. Alright, and what exactly query snapshot is doing, it's awaiting on get docs. This is another method from Firebase, so you can run it like that. And here you pass one collection. Actually, we are calling this method collection, so this object we can call it my collection. So that, and the same here. If you call methods and functions variable same name, it's not a good practice, so be careful about that. Okay, now we have it. Now we need to store data in 3 categories. So here I'm gonna create 3 variables. New category for new, which is going to be empty array by default. Then we have the iconic category. Alright, and then we have critically acclaimed. Alright, this is also an empty array. Now whatever data we get, we need to put inside these arrays. So let's do that. Query snapshot, okay, dot for each. We are running for each function. Then we are saying each document event that we get, we need to do with something with that document. And what are we going to do? We say constant data is equal to, and that's going to be doc.data. Okay, now we will have access to data, and here we will check if data.type is equal to new data. Now let's go back to the Firebase, and here let's go back to the Firestore database. Then here we have movies. Each movie have type, critically acclaimed, value. Now if I go here, type, new. Here, type, iconic. So we can use this type. When we get the data, we can check here, and accordingly we can categorize the data. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to say here, if new category is equal to, and here I'm going to use the new category, okay, and I'm going to pass the data. So whatever data there is, add the data into it, okay. This is how it is going to be. So I'm checking for now 3 of them each way, all right, critically acclaimed and with the data type, whatever it is, do that. Now if you remember, if we go back here in our store, in our Redux, we create a movie slice. Here we said we will be passing the data with new category, iconic category, and critically acclaimed. So to use it here, what we can do, we can say we need to call that store and run our function. So we call that dispatch. So we are saying here dispatch like this, and then we call our function inside it. So set movies function, and inside that set movie function we will pass an object, and that object is just those values. So what do we want to do? We want to say new category, iconic category, and critically acclaimed, and that we need to set value to. So here, new category, iconic category, and critically acclaimed. All right. Now this is, we need to set the values to it. So you can set it like this. Now we don't have dispatch here, so we need to call it. So let's do that. On top, we say constant dispatch. Okay, it's going to be use dispatch. Now use dispatch we need to import, obviously, because it is from Redux. So here, use dispatch from, and it's going to be the React-Redux. All right, so far so good. We're getting the content, we are setting the values. Now as we are setting the values, we can show the content and it should work then. This file is getting bigger. I'm gonna pass the content to even in a sub kind of component. So what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna create here. So you say here another component, accordion. This I just change the name to it. So accordion content. You can structure it as you like. I'm just adding it just to making things as less as possible in the same single file. So here, I create here GSX, create functional component. All right, now we need to import it, obviously. So here, on top, import accordion. Okay, so we have this dispatch running, which is running the function. Now I'm going to show you how you can get the data. Now, as we're getting this content type to load here, we can again pass this here as well. So you pass it like this. Now you go to the kind of accordion content. Here you can accept it. And then you can use it. It's totally up to you however you want to do it. Okay, now let's go to our app. Let's see if there is any error or anything. Now if I go to iconic, we have still things are working fine, no errors. So cannot do have a few errors here, but it's okay. It's not anymore. It's okay. That's fine. Now let's work with the showing the data, because we need to show the data now. Here, right? So here, what are we going to do? First, we want to get all that data. So to get the data using Redux, what we can do is we can say here a constant, and that constant going to receive new category. Okay, it is going to receive iconic category, because that's the data there is, and the critically aligned. Now you get it basically using use selector. Okay, use selector like this. In use selector, you say we have a state, and that state have movies there, and using that movies, we want these three values. Now, as you're calling the use state, use selector, you need to import it. Import use selector from React Redux. Remember, the spellings should be correct. Okay, now what do we want to do? In div, inside it, I don't want to show this, I just want to show the content. So I want to put here content type to load if it is equal to new. Okay, then, and also because we know that if it is new, we want new category. So if we have new category, we put it here, and then we say, all right, we want to show the content. So we map through each of the items. So here I say, okay, inside it, category, each category is going to be an index. Two things, that's all. Here, and we can break it down so you can see it easily. All right. Now here, what we want to do is return. And return is going to be the div with the class name, so that we can put some style to it. Each media item wrapper. All right, and then we want is key. So when you loop through, you map through items and display them, you need to give a key. Here we pass the key as index. In this div, what we want to do, we want to show an image, and the image source is going to be from the category. So here it's going to be category dot image img, and for the alt you can pass anything you like. They're going to be, so if we go to the data that we are receiving here, we are receiving the image img, the bot image, and then the label and the type and the value, so we can show the label. So let's do that here. I'm gonna copy this, and just in place of img we say label. All right, now we want to show the underline li, and here I put it this, and it's gonna be label. And we don't need to pass this, it's gonna be like this. Okay, so it all worked just fine. Now this is going to show if the category is new. Now if in case category is iconic, we can put it like this. And here we can say if it is iconic, and then we need to loop through iconic category, because that's what we are getting from Redux. So here we say, okay, the category is this, loop through this. the same way the last one. Now go above, critically acclaimed. And here, if this is, go through it. And here we need to check the critically acclaimed. Okay. Now I'm wrapping it with the div. Let's create a custom style component. So we can say here each media item. Okay, so we can now create a style component. So let's get it. Constant styled dot div, and here we need to import style. It's for some reason my Visual Studio is not importing automatically, but so I'm importing like this. Okay, style is there. Now we need to style it a bit so that our images and everything looks just fine. So here, what I'm gonna say, first thing, display need to be flex. Then we want to flex direction to be row. So one in all the images should come one next to the other. Justify content. Justify content is content between this time. Then I want to have the flex wrap. So it is going to make sure that not all images coming in the same line. So it's going to be wrap. It's going to wrap them up. Padding we need. So we put here 10 pixels as a padding. Also background color is going to be the black. Okay, then we need color, which is going to be white. And then at last we need font. Family, I'm using the same family again. In there, and then the sans serif. Okay, now inside it we have div dot, and there was a class I added each media item wrap. So we need to give style to this too, margin, and here I'm gonna give 10 pixel auto. And then inside there is images, so we need to give some styling to them too. I want to make sure that the width is 600 pixel. Okay, and that's it for now. Let's save it. Here I'm not seeing anything wrong, so here I refresh and click. And yeah, you can see that it loaded it. However, the list has the dots in front of it, so we need to work with the styling there. Critically acclaimed, yeah, looks good. Now let's work with that style. So this list item, if I go back here, it's this list label. So we can say here li. And then here, list style, none, and that should fix it. So now it's not there anymore, and everything is fine. So now the thing is, if I refresh, by default it is empty, which is not right. So we need to set the state we're setting in the movies. So this is the content type state we are passing in the components. So if I go on top, here we are not setting default value. So I pass default value as new. If you want iconic or critically acclaimed, you can put here. Now you can see that the movies are there. All right, it's perfectly fine. Okay, now what we want to do next? Now it's time we work with the login. So currently if I click here, nothing happens. So for login, we need to work with the Firebase again. Go back to Firebase, here, close it, and refresh the page. so that I'm on the right account. Go to main page here, and in your app, go in your app and go inside authentication this time. Now you need to click on get started. Now here you need to check a provider. So we need Google, so I click on Google, and here I say enable, and here this is the email address I'm logged in with, so save it, and then it is associating it with your application. Now we need to wait till it completes, and here we have Google enabled. All right, so now we can work with it, so make sure you have it. Now if I go back to our application, all right, if you remember what I'm gonna do first, I can close this images, home, so we have Firebase. So initially I added the provider as well, if you remember. So we need to use this provider now, as well as this auth. So what we need to do, we need to create, let's go to our navigation. So in home, we created the navigation, and in the navigation, we have this sign in, sign out. So here, I'm gonna put a logic if the user is logged in, so we can do something. And if user is not logged in, then it shows something different. So now as we are going to deal with the data and we want to access this data overall in our application, we will be creating a store again. Not a store, basically the slice. So if you see here Redux, we created movies, and then we use this function to set the value. So if I go through again how it all worked in the movies, here we pass the type, and at last you remember we set this to here, but here we are not getting the movies, we are just setting the movies to our local React Redux. Now when you want to show it, we are using the use selector again from React Redux, and we are accessing it here. So using this use selector, you can get these values anywhere. Even if you create multiple components, you can get them. Simply call it and use it. The same way we need to now create another slice, which is going to be similar to the movie slice, and the same directory. It is going to be user slice, which is going to deal with the user data. All right. Now to save time, I'm gonna copy everything from movie slice and put in the user slice. Now it's a user slice, not use slice, so correct that. And let's change here what we are doing. First we are calling the create slice, initial state. Initial state this time going to hold the user data, which is going to be name, and then the second thing going to be email, and then third thing it is going to handle is the image. Three things, nothing more. It is going to call user slice, so we call it user slice. All right, initial state is fine. Now we need to give it a function that is going to set the values. Set user details. Yeah, that suits the most. State, going to have the state dot name, then it is going to have state dot email, then it's going to have state dot image. Okay, now whatever action we pass, we are expecting their name, and most probably here email, and Google generally provide a URL for image, so we are expecting it here. Now here, when we are exporting it, we need to say this function we are exporting from user slice. Okay, and here user slice. So our user slice is ready, but to make it work, to use it, we need to call it inside the store, because remember, your store is the one which is getting called here, and it is wrapping your application. So let's call here, I call here user, and then user slice, and you now can use it anywhere you want. Now let's do this. In navigation, we need to get, first of all, the data. Okay, so here I close the slice, I go to navigation. So here first I want to get the data, so what data we have. So if you remember, I told you in a moment back, it's going to be import using use selector from React Redux. Redux. Okay, so if you want to use the data, use this way. Here, constant, it's going to be name, email, and image. That's what we want. Use selector, and when you use selector, you pass the state and you tell which reducer to use. So we say state dot, and we call here user. All right, because it's a user data we are dealing with. Now based on this data, because by default, if you remember, by default all the values will be null. All right, so we can put some condition here. So what I say okay, email, if it is null, show something else, otherwise show something else. Let me show you. So I say here, if email is there, right? So what we can say here is that we can use ternary operator, and we can say sign in, sign out. I cut it from here, and then I say otherwise, again this. So here, if email is there, it is gonna say sign out, and otherwise it's gonna say sign in. Now we're gonna use a function which runs on click of these buttons. So we say here on click, and this on click will take a function. What that function going to be? It's going to be handle. Okay, so handle sign in out. Okay, so it is responsible for signing in as well as signing out. So here we pass the keyword alongside. So here like this, and here I break it so you can see it easily. And again I call the same function, and I paste it here. This time it is going to pass the keyword in because we are logging in the user. Alright, so let's put the logic about it here. So what do we want to do? We want to write this function. So here constant, and it's the function, arrow function it is, and then we want to say here operation, so that whatever is the operation, or you want to call it type, whatever you want to call it, you can. By default it's empty, but we are expecting something. So here we say if type is equal to in, that means we are logging in the user. All right, and if otherwise it is we are logging out. So for logging in, we are going to call a function which is the sign in with pop-up. Now this is a function from Firebase, so it is going to give you the pop-up for logging. So it's a sign in with pop-up. Right now this is going to take two values, auth as well as provider, which provider you want to use, and auth. Then it returns a promise. Here we say result, and here when you have the data returned, we can put it inside user constant. It's going to be user result dot user. This is how it is going to return it. Now we need to import the provider as well as auth. Now if you remember, in our Firebase we have the auth and provider, both we're going to use now. So here we go, and we say import, and we're going to call auth provider from, now look for the file where it is. It's here. All right, now we have access to these. Now we can call the if you know the way how it all works, we are sort of working Redux. Now we need to set our user slice, and we need to call this function user details so that we can have these values updated. By default, these values are null. So let's do that. Here, what do we want to do? We want to say, okay, dispatch. And what do we want to dispatch? It's taking event somehow, but it's not event. So here, I go back here, I pick that function name, set user detail, go back here, paste it here, pass the object. The object will take what? Name, which is going to what? User dot name, because that's how it's display name in the it is going to return in Google. And then email, user dot email, and at last image. Google going to return you photo URL, so you need to say photo URL like this. Okay, so we are saying when logging, user is logging in, sign up and dispatch this. If user is logging out, in that case we need to run this dispatch again, but this time we will be setting it to null, so that we will be removing all the values again, because we are logging out the user, that's all. So we can say bye-bye to user, so it's null. Now we have underlines here, so what that means, we need to import these. So first of all, we need to import the use dispatch, so that we can call here, I think. So comma use dispatch, and let's call it, so here I call constant dispatch is equal to use dispatch. Now it should be okay, and yes, it should be. Now the other underline we are getting is for set users, so we need to import set users as well. Let's import set users. Import spelling, import set users from. Now we need to talk about our slice. Where it is, it's inside Redux, and then user slice this time, not the movie slice. Okay, all the underlines are gone now, so it's the test time. So let's test it. So go back here to our app, and here when I log in, you can see that it popped up the pop-up. Now we need to, and now if I go to console, we have nothing there, which is an issue, because how do we find out like what has happened? Okay, it worked actually. If you see there, we have sign out now, so it worked. So basically we have all the things showing up as expected. So you can even put a console log to see here user what happens, so what data we are getting. So here what I do, I hit sign out, so it destroys it. Now when I hit sign in, it opens the pop-up. Now I'm already logged in Google, so it is logging in directly. Now you get the object here, you get the data alongside, so you get that, okay, this is the email, this is the image URL. If I click image URL, there is image, so we can use this image. Okay, now let's use this image then. So I go back here, I remove this console.log. Now I want to, because we already setting it here, we can call it, right? So we're calling as well on top, name image, so we can call image, and we can show this image to whatever we want to show. So here, when we have sign out, we can show the image. So here, where we have sign out, before that I call the image. Inside it, we need to pass the whole URL. So it's going to be $, and then image, that's all. Here you can say anything, users image, or user image, maybe, whatever suits you.
Now that's it. Now this image should have width. Let's give it a width. And I want to give it actually you need to style it like this. Width 50 pixel. Also we need to pass padding. And let's say 5 pixel. Okay, that's all for now. Let's see, go back to the app. It says user image, but it's not showing the image. Why is that? Because image, okay, there is a small bug that we need to fix. So image source is undefined. That means we are not getting the image. When we go to the code, you will see here that even the Visual Studio is trying to tell us like something is not right. So here it should be photo URL all capital like this. So what I do that. Now you see that dot goes away. Now it should be working just fine. So if I go back now and minimize it and sign out, sign in again, Google logs in, and there you go. We have the image. Now you can have any kind of designing you want. It's totally up to you. So here's our project. Alright, so now it's time to create the one pass. That's the final thing left. So let's do that. So here I'm going to go into the home, and here I'm going to, inside a widget, first we need to create a component. I'm going to call it one pass.jsx. Alright, React functional component. It's one pass. Inside home, I'm going to import it just like any other component. Copy this. One pass. Okay, so same. We call it here. And then we need to include it. So it's going to be here. Alright. Now, one pass is here. So if I go to scroll down, it's not displaying because our server is stopped. So we need to run the server again. npm start. Okay, server is running, and now it should be. So we have one pass there. Okay, now it's just showing the text right now, so let's work with it. So what we want to do basically, in one pass I want to create a wrapper that is going to handle all the content. So I'm going to close this, Firebase, navigation, everything. None of this is required now. I'm going to make it bigger. And here, what I want to do, I want to create a wrapper. So I say here, one pass wrapper. Okay, and this is going to take some content inside it. Now this one is a styled component, so we call the styled on top. I copy this and import it here. Alright, here we can say to resolve the error, constant styled.div backticks, and now it's fine. And inside it, let's put the data. I put a div. Give it a class of a sub wrapper, and inside this div I create another div, and this div is going to have an image. This image is going to be the logo image, so images and the one pass image, so one pass .png. Alright, some text. Alright, so good so far. Now what we want to do, we want to have another div. This div will be the content it's going to hold. It's going to have an image on top, images slash one pass one.png, and I'm just going to copy and paste this alt, and I'm going to paste it here. Alright, other than that, there is content here. So I have this content. I'm just going to copy and paste to save the time. And I'm going to paste it right inside it. So this is nothing, basically. If you see here, what exactly we are doing here, we have div with a span, and then we have a p tag that has some text. Then we have an order list, which has some list items. And that's all there is to it. There is nothing special. It's simple HTML. Alright guys, so I gave the classes here. If you see the medium class, medium, so that we can target it. I also added classes here and updated the alt. And now we can basically work with the style component, which is going to handle the style for it. So here we already created the style component. Inside it we can work with it. So background color, that's going to be 000, which is black. Then we have color, which is going to be silver. Okay, so we want silver color on it. And then font family, and it's going to be the same Evener and sans serif. Okay, then we want line height, and that is going to be 40 pixel. Now I want to work on the responsive part of it straight away, so that these things right now showing up like this. Image is coming here, and this portion content, it should be here on the right side, but we need to work with the responsive part of it as well. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to put here using media queries. So here I say if at media screen, and we say and max width okay. So what we want to do there, we want to have a div with the class of sub or wrapper, and I want to give it display flex, okay, flex and direction. That is going to be column, because in mobiles it should take full width and one after the other. Justify content is going to be center, and then we have a line items, which is also going to be center. Alright, then we have li tags there, so we want list style to be none, so there is no dots on it, otherwise each item will show the dots. Div with the last child, div. What do we want to do there is we want to have padding bottom 100 pixel. So in mobile view there will be some padding at the bottom. Alright, now this is, we are putting it idly right now. I'll check it one moment. Now let's put media screen and min width, okay, for same 1550 pixel. That's the resolution I'm targeting. Image.1 pass, this is the main image. Okay, what we have here, width 150%. Then here we have padding top 150 pixel. It's not a good idea to have bigger padding putting, but for now I'm just adding here just for this. It's something when you really don't have anything else to, then you add huge padding, otherwise because it can create issues when you're doing the responsiveness. Here, last child, padding dash left 150 Okay, because we want to center it, so in here image dot one pass 1. Okay, this is the image from the right side, and let's check the class for it. So it's on top of the contents, it's here. So yeah, it's the same class. So what I really want to do here is going to give the width 40%, and also I want to have padding 200 pixel, 0 on the left, 50 on the bottom, and 80 pixel. Okay, now we have the div lost child, another div, we added the padding, and here padding again. So this time it's going to be 0 and 100 pixel. Okay, so far so good. This content is looking a bit better, but that image is not. So let's work on that. Now here, outside of it, I want to say, because this is going till here, I want to say here div with the class of sub wrapper, and that's going to have justify content center, display flex, and then width 80%, at lost margin 0 auto to center it. Okay, now we have buttons, so medium. If you remember, I gave the class to medium button. Now the class, the CSS of it, as I already have, so I'm just gonna put it here because it's the button. So, alright, so now you can see it looks better. We have a button, it's the same style that we used here on top, the same, we are doing it here. Now the only thing I wanted to add here is in the mobile view, it should take the full width. So here, media query, copy, and here paste it. I'll take the screen size 750. When we reach this size, what we want to do is we want to have mg and then width 100% to the images. Okay. Alright, so it looks good now. It's 100%. Now this is the styling. Now let's see how it looks. So go back here. It looks much better now. So if I go to the mobile view, now in the mobile view, these images are not taking the size. However, the portion, the lower portion is fine. This is looking fine. Now let's work on this one. So these are each. This is the movies component, so let's go there. So movies, here we have the styling. Actually, we need to go into the Guardian. Here we are basically working with it, so we have the image size to 600. Here we need to say, actually I copy this from here, the media query. So for 750, we put here the media query, and let's make it 720. I think that would be fine. I will say div image, and width going to be 100%. Now if we go here, you can see that it looks better. So okay, this is the image in our logo. So this is also needs to be corrected. So I go and copy this, I go to header, and here in header we have, we need to put it here, and this is going to be the logo header class. Okay, now the thing is, here we are going to say it's going to be 80% instead of 100, and then height also 35 pixel. So okay, it looks fine now. You can increase it if you want a bit. Where the logo header already defined, there we can put it. So here even 90% will be better. So here it is. Actually, if I put 100, let's see, better than before, but yeah. Okay, so you can see that it's fully responsive now. So yeah, it looks good. You can download the code for it, use it, whatever you want to do, enhance it. It's totally up to you. Thank you for watching. Do subscribe to the channel and see you in the next video. Thank you for watching.